Hey guys, Captain Mike, welcome to Whiskey and Literature. I talk about whiskey and books, and today it is whiskey. I think we should all be so lucky if you had a friend like I do in Scott. Scott called me up a couple weeks ago and he said, Mike, you gotta get the Penelope estate. And I'm like, I'm kind of burnt out. I have like 5 Penelopes I haven't even opened. I'm gonna pass on this one. He's like, dude, you've gotta get the Penelope estate. So I look around, I'm like, man, I can't find a Penelope estate anywhere. I missed the boat. He's like, dude, you've got to find and get the Penelope estate. So I finally find a store that had 3 of them, very, very close to MSRP, and picked up myself a Penelope estate single barrel. And so for you, Scott, this one's for you, man. Penelope Estate Collection is being marketed as like a premium brand, and it comes with 3 expressions. They have the Founder's Reserve, which is an 11-year wheat whiskey. They have the Private Select, which is a 9-year 4-grain. And then they have this single barrel, which rolls in at 10 years with 2 different mash bills. One is a 21% rye and one is a 36% rye. Let's talk about the specs and stats of this bottle and then get to it. Before we do, I just want to say, guys, thanks for sticking with me. I know it's been a minute since I've put out any videos. I have bronchitis and I was coughing for a very long time. And I don't know if you've ever tried to film a video when you were coughing. It makes it very, very difficult. And then I had to go back to work. I haven't worked like since May of last year. They trained me on a piece of equipment which we didn't have, and now we have that equipment. So now it's time to pay the piper and go back to work, which is, it's fine. We as providers for our family, we some of our identity comes from being able to provide, and so going to work is totally cool. I got no big deal with that. And once I get back into the groove, it's just going to become part of my life again. Working and whiskey, no big deal. But I also had the flu, and then we had to go back west to Phoenix for our oldest son's wedding. And just a lot of things happening really fast, and it's been a crazy, crazy time, and I have not been able to put out any videos, so thank you for sticking with me. I did put out a couple during when I was coughing, but it's just so hard to edit and film it like that. It's just not, I just couldn't do it very much. And I'm thinking this is going to be the last or one of the last videos that I film inside this house. We are scheduled in 4 days to have this house torn down. If you haven't seen any of my previous videos and you're wondering why I'm filming in this weird location, this is my home in Western Florida and the Gulf Coast, and Hurricane Helene flooded my house out. And so we're going to tear this house down and build a new house. And it's painful right now. We're staying in a FEMA apartment. But sometimes you have to just take your life and burn it to the ground. You burn your life to the ground, and then you build something new from those ashes. And that's what Mrs. Captain and I are doing right now. So I've got a little setup in the FEMA apartment. I'll be making some videos there starting really soon. But today it is Penelope Estate Single Barrel. The mash bill is 60% corn, 36% rye, and 4% malted barley. And if that mash bill sounds familiar to you, it's because it's one of MGP's bourbon mash bills. MGP purchased Penelope in 2023. This is a single barrel. It is 10 years old, bottled at 105 proof and non-chill filtered. MSRP is $89.99, and I paid $99.99 for this bottle. And I'm right, I don't know if you can hear that, I'm right under the flight path for an airport that's nearby. So, okay, so those are the specs and stats of the bottle. Let's get to it. I've had a few pours of this whiskey already, and it's been in my glass here for about 15-20 minutes. And man, I'll just straight up say it. This has been, it's gotta be my favorite bourbon and one of my favorite whiskeys that I've had easily in recent memory. 6 months at least. Definitely this is the best bourbon I've had in 6 months. As far as whiskeys go, I'm really a rye guy. I like bourbons too, and scotches and whatnot. This is definitely in the top of the whiskeys that I've had, but certainly the best bourbon I've had in a long while. I am a huge fan. It's just luxuriant nose. It just smells so nice and rich. It's a buttercream and cherries, vanilla, and some spice. And it's crazy because sometimes you're like, you know, I get these same notes on other whiskeys and they just don't smell as good. It's like, we just had to buy Mrs. Captain a new car because her car flooded and she wanted a red car, a very specific red SUV. And I see red SUVs driving around, and honestly, Mrs. Captain did a great job picking this one out, and it is a super sexy red. It's just a beautiful deep red. And I see other red cars and I'm like, you know what, she was actually right. I was kind of making fun of her because she wanted a red car. But it is such a nice red. So you see other red cars, hers is just nicer. You have other whiskeys and bourbons with these kind of same notes, but this just does it better. It's better buttercream, better cherries. It's really, really nice. I am a huge fan. Cheers, guys. Penelope Estate Single Barrel, 36% rye. It honestly is just so good. Again, it's that rich and luxuriant. It's cherries and cinnamon, some rice spice, just the right amount. I mean, if you said to me, Captain, I'm gonna make you a bourbon, what would you like the specs and stats to be for that bourbon? I would say, okay, for you to make me a bourbon, I would want it to be 30% rye or greater, because I really like that kick that we get from rye. I want some age, but not too much. So how about 8 to 12 years of age? Some proof, but not too much proof where I'm just overwhelmed. It's just a nice, giving it that weightiness and authoritativeness with that proof level and non-chill filtered. So how about between 100 and 110 proof and non-chill filtered, and I like to be less than $100. Guess what? This ticks all of those boxes. It is just so good. Man. It's just the right amount of oakiness. It's not overwhelming. It's not too aged. It's just about right. Whoever's picking these barrels for this Penelope Estate single barrel, I think they are doing an amazing job. And I realize that I don't really have a whole lot of experience with MGP's 36% rye bourbon mash bill. I have drank some High West bourbon, which honestly I don't really care for, and that is MGP's 21% rye mash bill that's blended into the High West bourbon. But I do really enjoy this sip. That proof, the non-chill filter, the age, it just gives it, just brings everything home, and it just coalesces into such a nice pour that's enjoyable. You can sip on it over some time and just really enjoy it, and it's not gonna blow you away with the proof level, and it's hard to enjoy. It's just nice sipper. I mean, I put this up here with, say, the Hardin's Creek Frankfurt, the best Stag Junior that you've had. I mean, those are obviously a lot higher proof, but I do really enjoy this, and I think it can go toe to toe with either one of those bourbons. And as it's just sitting here and kind of just fading, tingling spiciness, just leaving me with some of that buttercream and cherry sweetness, and I'm just enjoying it. And I've noticed as I've had these pours, as that kind of fades, it just allows like a fruity vanilla to just shine as it just finishes. Definitely, I think it's a really good pour. And if you can't tell, I'm a huge fan of the Penelope Estate single barrel, 36% rye. And I appreciate Scott give me a call and tell me to pick this bad boy up. So I would encourage you, if you can find one, and I paid $100 for it, MSRP is $90. I mean, I would go $20 more. I enjoy it that much. I would not, I'm trying to keep myself within limits per MSRPs and what I actually pay. I have, when I first started purchasing whiskey, overpaid for quite a few bottles, and I really try and not do that anymore. And I have let some bottles just go by because you've seen great bottles on the shelf and you just say, I'm not willing to pay that much above MSRP to pick that up. And if you say to me, Mike, you can't find this in the area. It sounds great, right? So it sounds like a great bourbon, but you're like, you missed the boat. You can't find it. You don't know where to go to get it, and now you want it. So this is what you can do. You can go on, just search on the internet, just type in MGP36. And that should bring up a list of distilleries that source or are owned by MGP that are putting out this same mash bill. Now, what you might not be able to find is all the things that coalesce into this bottle. You know, you have this certain person picking this barrel. It's at a certain age and proof, and it's a single barrel. Those all things all coalesce into this bottle. So you might not be able to find that exactly. So I did that exact thing. And I went and saw what else could I find that was like this. And I had one bottle on my shelf, or two actually, but it's the same whiskey. And then I found another bottle on the shelf at a store nearby. So let's talk about these two bottles, because you can do the same thing. Just go type in MGP 36 and find yourself something that's like this that might be available in your area that's not available in my area. So the bottle that I had already owned, and I have two of these, is the Smoke Wagon Uncut Unfiltered. This is very specifically batch number 159F. It was bottled September 27, 2022, and it's about halfway done. I've got another bottle, a later batch from Smoke Wagon. And this is the same mash bill as a Penelope Estate. It's that 36% rye bourbon. But there are some differences between this and this. This is non-age stated, and you look on the website, it doesn't tell you how old it is. Aaron from H&C, or from Smoke Wagon, he does have he's very active on social media, and he does give ages for a lot of the whiskeys. I couldn't find one for this one, but I'm certain that it's younger than 10 years. There's two other major differences between this one and this. First of all, this is a batched product, so it's not a single barrel. I feel like single barrels, you know, they have really sharp notes. And when you do a batch, oftentimes what happens is, because you have different barrels have different high notes, you know, maybe this one has more cinnamon, this one has more rye spice or whatever, and it just flattens off those peaks when you batch a product. The great thing is you have a nice consistent product in a batch, but you lose some of those high notes, but you also lose some of those low notes if you have a bad barrel pick. So this is a batch product, non-age stated, and it is uncut unfiltered. So it's 56.65 maybe, 113 and change proof. So barrel strength, 105 proof. This is really good. Price is about equivalent, but you can find these pretty much anywhere, I do believe, these days. The other one that you can find, they do have some private select. Those are age stated, they're older and higher proof. So if you can find a Smoke Wagon private select, you might be able to find a single barrel that's close to this. Next one is Redemption Bourbon. They have a high rye bourbon. Now the one you see in the store typically is a batch product, and it's 92 proof. So that is a far cry from the single barrel Penelope Estate. But what you can find is the high rye bourbon single barrel select. And I just happened to come across this in a store nearby me. And it is the same mash bill, it's the same proof, 105 proof. Difference is it is it is just under 5 years old. So less than 5 years old, and it's picked by somebody else, Chad Beal. So Chad Beal picked this bottle, and someone else picked this one. So perhaps those two pickers are looking for something different. They're looking for something different in the bourbons, so he might not have picked this bottle and vice versa. I will say, I find this to be a very excellent pour, and I really do enjoy it. It is somewhat of a, you know, a slight shadow of what this is, but I do really enjoy this. They do have another one, which is they have a barrel strength. They have a 10-year barrel strength high rye bourbon from Redemption. If you can find one of those, and I have no idea what the MSRP is on that, if you can find one of those, that might be as close as you can get, if you can find it in your area, to the Penelope estate. What I'm really saying is you do have options, at least for the same mash bill, and you might have to give and take somewhere on the age or proof or a single barrel versus a batch product. But I do enjoy these products, and I enjoy this quite a bit more. So if you can find one of these, certainly say for under 100, 120 bucks, I would say pick this up. If I went to the store and this was sitting there with any of the other estate collection ones, I would still buy another bottle of this because I like it so much, even not having had tried the other estate collection bottles. And I do regret not purchasing a backup for this single barrel. So my question is, have you had any experience with any of these products, the Uncut Unfiltered? What are your thoughts on the Rye Bourbon from Redemption? Have you had his Penelope estate? Do you enjoy it? Do you think I'm just like whatever, or do you feel the same way about your bottle? I know my friend Scott, he did get the Private Select, so his is a little bit younger, and it's the 4 grain. It's not this this bourbon mash bill. But still, I appreciate him giving me a heads up and kind of pushing me into picking this bottle up. Any thoughts, guys? Thoughts or comments? I'm always welcome to those. I do read every comment that comes across my channel, very small channel, and so I appreciate you watching. If you've enjoyed the video, like it, subscribe to see more of my content. Again, I talk about whiskey and books. We'll see if I do any more videos from this house or not. But guys, thanks for sticking with me. And for now, my friends, you know what to do. I hope you're reading something good and drinking something great. Turn those pages and stay thirsty and wear a damn hat. Cheers.